Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a question. Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, this can't be it? There has to be more for me. I know I have. And if you've felt that way, you're not alone. Millions of people live every single day believing money is hard to come by, that it slips away faster than it comes in. But here's the truth Florence Scovel Shinn taught over a century ago: money is not chasing you because you are not calling it. Yes, you heard me right. Money, like everything else in life, responds to the words you speak. Think about it. When you constantly say, I can't afford this, or I'll never get out of debt, what happens? You create more of the same. Your words paint the picture of your financial future. But when you flip the script, when you speak words of abundance, money begins to rush into your life in ways you never imagined. Let me give you an example. Imagine planting a garden. If every day you walk out and say, nothing grows here. This soil is dead, do you think you'll ever bother planting seeds? Of course not. And even if you did, you'd never water them. But if you look at that same soil and say, this ground is fertile, and something beautiful is growing here, suddenly you treat it differently. You water it. You protect it. And before long, you see green shoots breaking through. Your finances work the same way. Words are seeds. And every sentence you speak is either planting weeds of lack, or gardens of wealth. Now, Florence gave us a phrase that changes everything. She said, I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. Let that sink in. Say it with me in your heart. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. Do you feel the shift? It's not begging. It's not wishing. It's declaring. When you speak this, you begin to attract opportunities. People suddenly notice you. Ideas start flowing. Doors open. Why? Because your words are aligning you with abundance instead of lack. Here's a story. A friend of mine was stuck in a job she hated. Every morning, she would say, I'm trapped. I'll never make more money than this. And guess what? She didn't. For years. Until one day, I asked her to try Florence's affirmation. She felt silly at first, but she said it daily. Within 3 months, she got an unexpected job offer paying double. Double. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Now, let me ask you this. What are you speaking over your life? Are you speaking debt? Or are you speaking destiny? Are you speaking lack? Or are you speaking prosperity? Because the universe is listening. And it always delivers what you order with your words. So here's my challenge to you. Starting today, guard your speech like treasure. Every time you're tempted to say, I can't afford that, stop yourself. Replace it with, money flows to me easily. Wealth is attracted to me. I always have more than enough. And then watch. Watch how the energy shifts. Watch how money begins to rush toward you like a river breaking through a dam. Florence was right. The key is not outside you. It's not the economy. It's not luck. It's the words that come out of your mouth. So speak abundance. Speak prosperity. Speak wealth. And I promise you, money will come running. Thank you. Following are the keywords you will listen in this video. Words are seeds. What you speak grows into your reality. Negative speech about money creates more financial struggle. Positive, affirming words open doors to opportunities and abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn's affirmation, I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay, is a powerful prosperity declaration. Real-life transformation begins when you shift your daily language from lack to wealth. Guard your words, because they shape the financial future you're walking into. Words are seeds. What you speak grows into your reality. Think about that for a moment. Really let it sink in, because it's not just a nice phrase, it's the foundation of how life unfolds. Imagine holding a handful of seeds in your palm. Some are seeds of roses, some are seeds of thorns, some will grow into towering trees, and some will remain tiny shrubs. The one thing they all have in common is this: whatever you plant, and whatever you water, that's what you get more of. You would never stand in a garden, throw down a handful of poison ivy seeds, and then pray for tomatoes. You wouldn't sow thistles and then hope for roses. Yet when it comes to money, relationships, and opportunities, we do this all the time with our words. We plant seeds of lack, and then we're surprised when lack is the only thing that grows. A woman once told me, "I can never get ahead financially. Every time I save a little, something happens, and it all disappears." And sure enough, month after month, that exact pattern played out in her life. The words were not just a reflection of her experience, they were instructions. They were blueprints. Life was simply following her command. It was as if she was standing in the soil of possibility, pressing those same lack-filled seeds into the ground every day, watering them with her complaints, and then wondering why the harvest looked exactly the same. But the moment she began shifting her words, her harvest began to change. Instead of saying, "I never get ahead," she started saying, "Everything I spend comes back to me multiplied." Instead of saying, "Money slips through my fingers," she declared, "Money stays, grows, and multiplies in my life." Slowly, like the first shoots of green pushing through the earth, she began to notice little changes. A surprise refund check. A coworker recommending her for a promotion. A bill that got cancelled out of nowhere. And she looked at me one day and said, "It's almost like magic." But it wasn't magic. It was simply the law of sowing and reaping, played out through words. Picture a farmer in an open field. He kneels down, carefully pressing corn seeds into the soil. He waters them, day after day, with patience and expectation. He doesn't doubt whether corn will come. He doesn't look at the ground 2 weeks later and say, "Oh, nothing's growing, I guess it'll never happen." No, he trusts the process because he knows the principle: what you plant is what you get. Yet when we speak words of fear, lack, or doubt, and those very things show up in our lives, we act surprised, as though the soil has betrayed us. The truth is, the soil of life is neutral. It doesn't care what seed you plant. It only knows how to grow what it's given. Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "Your word is your wand." Think about that imagery. A wand is not passive, it's a tool of creation. It directs energy, it shapes reality, it summons things unseen into the scene. When you speak words of lack like "I can't afford it" or "I'll never be wealthy," it's as if you're waving a wand and summoning lack itself. You are commanding your future, and the universe is obeying without question. But when you shift to words of abundance like "Money flows to me easily" or "I always have more than enough," you're waving that same wand in a different direction, calling in something greater. Now, let's make this real. Imagine 2 people walk into the same job interview. The first has been speaking words of doubt all week: "I'm not qualified. They probably won't like me. Jobs are so hard to find." They walk in heavy, insecure, radiating lack. The interviewer feels it, even if they can't explain why. They smile politely but decide this isn't the right fit. Now imagine the second person. All week long, they've been saying, "I'm the right person for the right job. I bring value wherever I go. Opportunities are drawn to me." They walk in with quiet confidence. They shake hands firmly, speak with clarity, and radiate trust. Who do you think gets the job? Same environment, same opportunity, but completely different harvest because of the seeds planted by their words. Even in relationships, this principle is true. A man constantly saying, "No one ever supports me, no one's ever there for me," ends up noticing only the ways people let him down. He doesn't see the small acts of kindness, the moments when others try to help. His words blind him to the harvest that's already there, and his bitterness plants even more seeds of isolation. On the other hand, a person who says, "I'm always surrounded by love, people are kind to me, support flows into my life," suddenly finds themselves noticing generosity everywhere. A stranger opens a door for them, a friend calls at the right time, an unexpected gift shows up. The same world, the same soil, but different crops because of the seeds. There's a story I often tell about a man who wanted to change his financial situation. He was tired of living paycheck to paycheck, always in fear of bills. One night, in a moment of desperation, he stood in front of a mirror and said out loud, "I am rich in opportunities. Money is always finding me. I am open and ready to receive." At first, he felt foolish. It sounded too simple. But he kept saying it, morning and night. 2 weeks later, a colleague casually mentioned a side project that needed help. He took it. That project introduced him to a new circle of people who valued his skills, and within 6 months, he was earning more from his side projects than from his full-time job. Did the words alone make him rich? No, the words shifted his belief, and that belief shifted his actions, and those actions attracted new opportunities. The words were the seeds, and the harvest was inevitable. Every word you speak is either a shovel digging a hole for your dreams or a seed planting them into fertile ground. When you complain about money, you're watering weeds. When you declare abundance, you're watering flowers. And the most incredible part is that the soil never stops working. It doesn't take a day off. It's always responding, always growing, always multiplying whatever you put into it. The only question is, what are you planting today? Negative speech about money creates more financial struggle. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Just words. Just sounds carried on air. But if you've ever lived through a season where every word out of your mouth was I can't, I don't, I'll never, then you already know it's not simple at all. It's powerful. Words carve grooves into your mind, and those grooves become the paths you unconsciously walk down every day. When you keep saying you're broke, your mind believes you. And when your mind believes you, your actions follow. Before you know it, you're living inside the prison that your own words built. I remember a man who used to tell anyone who would listen, money burns a hole in my pocket. The second I get it, it's gone. It was almost like a catchphrase, part of his identity. He would laugh when he said it, almost proud of it, as though it were just his nature. But month after month, I watched it play out exactly as he declared. He would get a bonus at work, and within a week, his car would break down. He'd receive a tax refund, and suddenly his roof would start leaking. It became predictable. He was living in a cycle of his own words. The universe was simply echoing back the story he kept telling. Negative speech about money is like putting holes in the bottom of your own bucket. No matter how much pours in, it leaks out. You might think it's just venting. You might tell yourself you're just being real. But the truth is, every time you say, I can't afford that, you make it more real. You reinforce scarcity. And that scarcity becomes a lens through which you see every decision. It shrinks your creativity. It blinds you to opportunities. It makes you believe that life is happening to you, instead of through you. Imagine a young woman walking into a store. She sees a dress she loves, but immediately she whispers under her breath, I can't afford that. She says it with such certainty that she doesn't even glance at the price tag. She doesn't consider saving for it, or finding a version within her budget, or even allowing herself to imagine what it would feel like to wear it. She cuts off the possibility before it even begins. Now, multiply that moment by hundreds of little daily decisions. Each time she says, I can't afford it, she's closing doors in her mind. She's building walls around her life. That's the silent damage of negative speech. It's not just about the money you lose, it's about the possibilities you never even see. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, Your word is your wand, and with it you wave into existence your heart's desire. But here's the other side. With that same wand, you can also wave into existence your heart's fear. When you say, I'll never get out of debt, that's not just frustration, it's a spell you've cast over yourself. And what's worse, you begin to unconsciously act in ways that prove yourself right. You avoid opportunities because you believe they won't work out. You hesitate when you should leap. You live smaller, tighter, more afraid. And all the while, you keep saying, see? I told you. I never get out of debt. One man I know had a habit of saying, I'm always one step behind. Money never comes at the right time. He believed it so strongly that when he finally did receive a raise, instead of celebrating, he said, well, I'm sure expenses will catch up. And guess what? Within weeks, his car needed repairs and his rent went up. The very words he spoke became the stage directions of his life. It wasn't fate, it was faith in the wrong thing. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how negative talk spreads? You sit at a lunch table with co-workers, and one person says, the economy's terrible, no one's getting raises. Suddenly another chimes in, yeah, and bills just keep piling up. Then someone else adds, I don't know how anyone ever gets ahead these days. Before long, the entire table is nodding, agreeing, rehearsing lack together. Do you see what's happening? That room becomes a greenhouse of poverty thinking, and everyone walks away with those seeds planted deeper. And tomorrow, they water them again with more talk of struggle. It's not just one sentence. It's a culture. Now picture the opposite. Imagine someone at that same table who says, I actually believe opportunities are everywhere right now. I know people making more than they ever have. I believe I'm next. At first, the others might laugh, roll their eyes, dismiss it as naive. But over time, those words begin to plant different seeds. Even in the ones who don't believe. They start to wonder, what if she's right? And that little spark is the beginning of change. Negative speech creates struggle not only by programming your mind, but by programming the people around you. Children who grow up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Rich people are greedy, carry those phrases like heavy backpacks into adulthood. They repeat them unconsciously, never questioning if they're true. And generation after generation, the struggle continues not because opportunity isn't available, but because negative speech became the family tradition. Think of it like driving with the emergency brake on. You can press the gas, you can want to move forward, but the brake holds you back. Negative speech is that brake. It slows your progress. It drags against your effort. And until you release it, you'll always feel like you're pushing harder than you should have to, with very little to show for it. But the moment you start catching those negative words before they escape your lips, the moment you say, wait, that's not what I want to create, you begin loosening the brake. And as soon as you replace I can't afford it with I choose not to buy this right now, but money flows to me easily, the energy shifts. It may feel unnatural at first, like speaking a new language, but that's all abundance is, a new language. One where your words align with what you want instead of what you fear. I know what you might be thinking. But if I say I have money when I don't, isn't that just lying to myself? No. It's not lying, it's leading. Your words are not a description of your current state, they are a declaration of your future state. They are commands to your mind, your spirit, and your circumstances. If you only ever describe what is, you're stuck where you are. But when you begin to declare what can be, you open doors for what's possible. So, when you catch yourself saying, I'll never be debt-free, stop. Say instead, every day I am moving closer to financial freedom. When you want to sigh, I'm always broke, replace it with, I always have enough and more is on the way. You are not ignoring reality, you are rewriting it. Because negative speech about money doesn't just describe your struggle, it multiplies it. And positive speech about money doesn't just describe abundance, it attracts it. Positive, affirming words open doors to opportunities and abundance. This is not theory. It's not wishful thinking. It's a principle that shows up in life again and again, sometimes so quietly you almost miss it, and sometimes so dramatically you can't deny it. When you speak with power, with conviction, with expectation, something in the atmosphere changes. It's like turning a key in a lock. A door you couldn't push open before suddenly swings wide. Think of words as invitations. Every time you declare, money flows to me easily, you're sending out a beautifully written invitation to abundance. And abundance always RSVPs yes. But when you say, I'll never make it, you're sending that same invitation to struggle, and struggle happily arrives. That's why affirming words are so much more than positive thinking. They're not just empty sentences. They're instructions. They're commands. They're signals to your mind, your body, and the world around you. I remember a story about a young man who wanted to be an artist but didn't believe he could ever make money from it. Every time someone asked what he did, he would shrug and say, I'm just trying to get by. Art doesn't pay. He repeated it so often that it became his truth. He took jobs he hated, convinced that making a living from his passion was impossible. One day, though, after reading Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, he tried something new. Instead of saying, art doesn't pay, he began saying, my creativity brings me wealth. People value what I create. Money and art flow together in my life. At first it felt fake, like he was pretending. But little by little, something shifted. He began carrying himself differently. He started showing his art with confidence instead of apologizing for it. Within months, he was offered a gallery showing. Soon after, commissions started coming in. He later admitted, the opportunities were always there. I just couldn't see them until I started speaking differently. That's the power of affirmations, they adjust your vision. Picture wearing glasses with scratched-up lenses. You can't see clearly, so everything looks blurry, distorted. That's what negative words do. They cloud your perception. But when you replace them with affirming words, it's like putting on a clean pair of lenses. Suddenly, you notice things you missed before. Opportunities don't magically appear out of thin air, they were always there. Affirmations tune your awareness so you can recognize them. Let me ask you, have you ever bought a new car or maybe even just noticed a certain model on the road, and suddenly you start seeing it everywhere? That's your brain's reticular activating system at work. It filters out billions of bits of information and focuses only on what it's been told is important. Words program that filter. So when you say, I'm always struggling financially, your brain notices every bill, every expense, every setback. But when you say, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, your brain starts looking for evidence of that. It notices opportunities, remembers connections, recognizes open doors. It's not that the world changed, it's that your focus did. Florence Scovel Shinn used to remind people, you cannot affirm abundance and expect lack. The two don't live together. If you want doors to open, you have to choose your language with care. And the most beautiful part is that doors don't just open, they swing wide with momentum. There was once a woman who constantly affirmed, I am in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people. She said it daily, almost like a rhythm in her life. One afternoon, she missed her bus and ended up having to wait longer than usual. Instead of complaining, she repeated her affirmation. Minutes later, she struck up a conversation with someone else waiting. That man turned out to be a business owner looking for someone with her exact skills. Within weeks, she had a new job with better pay and more freedom. Now, someone else might have called that coincidence. But was it really? Or was it the alignment of affirming words and expectation drawing her into the right situation? Doors respond to the sound of your voice. If you knock timidly, saying, well, maybe, kind of, I hope, the doors creak open slowly, if at all. But when you speak with certainty, I deserve abundance. Wealth flows to me. I give value and receive value in return, those doors recognize authority and swing open with ease. It's like the difference between someone fumbling at a lock and someone using the right key. Affirmations are keys. Now, here's where it gets even more fascinating. Positive words don't just change your perception, they change how others perceive you. Imagine two people walking into a networking event. The first one whispers under their breath, I hate these things. No one wants to talk to me. I don't belong here. They walk in slouched, avoiding eye contact. People sense that energy and move past them. The second one walks in declaring, I'm magnetic. I connect easily. Opportunities flow to me. Their shoulders are back, their smile is genuine, they greet others with confidence. Guess who walks out with new contacts, new ideas, and maybe even a new opportunity? Same room, different words, different result. I once heard a man say, speaking affirmations feels like lying to myself. But the truth is, you've already been speaking affirmations, just negative ones. Every time you say, I'm broke, you're affirming it. Every time you sigh, I'll never catch a break, you're affirming it. Affirmations are not optional, they're happening whether you're aware of them or not. The only question is, are they affirming struggle, or are they affirming abundance? When you decide to affirm abundance, you begin building momentum. At first, it might feel small. You affirm, money comes easily to me, and maybe you find a $10 bill in your pocket. Don't dismiss it, celebrate it. That's a door cracking open. You affirm, opportunities flow to me, and suddenly someone recommends a book that sparks an idea. That's a door opening wider. You affirm, I am worthy of wealth, and then you're offered a project that pays more than you thought possible. That's the door swinging wide. Each affirmation builds on the last, creating a chain reaction of opened doors. So, what if you started today? What if, instead of saying, I'm stuck, you declared, I am moving forward, and nothing can hold me back? What if, instead of, money never stays with me, You declared, "Money grows in my life and multiplies effortlessly." What if you spoke words that turned keys, opened doors, and invited abundance to rush in? Because here's the truth: affirmations are not magic spells that create something out of nothing. They are reminders of who you really are and what you are capable of. They call your attention to what's possible, they open your heart to receive it, and they draw opportunities into your path. Every positive, affirming word is a key in your hand. And the more keys you use, the more doors you'll see open before you. Florence Scovel Shinn's affirmation, "I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay," is more than just a string of pleasant words. It's a doorway. It's a reset button. It's like taking a deep breath after years of choking on the dust of doubt and struggle. When you speak it, something begins to stir not only in the air around you, but inside you. Because affirmations don't just change your circumstances, they change you. And when you change, the world responds. Think about those words for a moment. Wonderful work, in a wonderful way. Doesn't it already feel lighter than the usual complaints of "I hate my job," or "I'm stuck here forever," or "I'll never find anything better"? Florence wasn't asking people to dream about something vague. She was teaching them to claim it, to declare it as though it were already true. Because when you say, "I have a wonderful work," your subconscious mind begins searching for evidence. It tunes your vision toward opportunities that match the words you spoke. I remember a woman who repeated this affirmation daily. At first, she said it through clenched teeth, because in reality, she worked in a job she despised. Every morning she dragged herself out of bed, already exhausted, muttering, "I can't stand this place." She felt like she was suffocating. But one day, out of sheer desperation, she committed to Florence's affirmation. "I have a wonderful work, in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay." She whispered it on her commute. She wrote it on sticky notes around her apartment. She said it before falling asleep at night. And at first, nothing seemed different. Same grey cubicle, same heavy atmosphere. But then subtle shifts began. Her attitude changed. She smiled more, which made her co-workers respond differently. She approached projects with fresh energy, and her boss noticed. Within a few months, an unexpected opportunity opened up: a transfer to a department that fit her skills perfectly, with a salary increase she hadn't dared to ask for. She looked back later and said, "The affirmation didn't magically drop a new job in my lap. It prepared me to step into the work I was meant for." That's the secret hidden inside Florence's words. Wonderful work doesn't mean work that is free of effort. It means work that feels aligned, purposeful, and rewarding. Wonderful service doesn't mean bending over backward for people who take advantage of you. It means showing up with excellence, giving from your best self, contributing in ways that matter. And wonderful pay doesn't mean scraping by with just enough to survive. It means being compensated in a way that feels abundant, fair, and freeing. When you declare this affirmation, you're aligning all three pieces of the puzzle: work, service, and pay. That alignment is where abundance begins. I once knew a man who used to say, "All jobs are miserable, but that's just life." And because he believed it, he only ever saw drudgery. He worked long hours in places that drained him, convinced that suffering was the price of survival. But when he encountered Florence's affirmation, something inside him softened. At first, he scoffed, but then he thought, what if she's right? What if there really is such a thing as wonderful work? For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a job that energized him instead of depleting him. He began affirming daily, "I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay." Within 6 months, an old friend reached out about a position that combined his love for technology with his passion for teaching. He stepped into it with joy, and later told me, "It wasn't just the job that changed, it was me finally believing I deserved wonderful work." Words like these don't just describe, they prescribe. When you say this affirmation, you are prescribing to yourself a new kind of life, the way a doctor prescribes medicine. And just like medicine, the power is in the daily dose. One time won't transform you, but steady repetition rewires your mind. Every time you say, "I have a wonderful work," you are dissolving the old belief that work has to be miserable. Every time you affirm, "I give wonderful service," you're reminding yourself that your contribution has value, that what you offer is meaningful. And every time you declare, "For wonderful pay," you're breaking the chains of the belief that being underpaid and overworked is your destiny. Let's make this practical. Imagine two people. The first one wakes up on Monday morning and groans, "Here we go again, another week in this awful job, working for people who don't appreciate me." They trudge through the day, drained before noon, and every task feels heavier than it should. The second one wakes up and speaks Florence's affirmation, "I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay." Even if their job isn't perfect yet, they walk in with a different energy. They serve with excellence. They carry themselves like someone who expects good pay and good opportunities. Who do you think the boss notices? Who do you think others recommend when a new opportunity opens up? Affirmations don't just shift the future, they shift the present. They change the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you think. And because of that, they change how people respond to you. Doors that seemed closed suddenly open, not because the door changed, but because you did. Florence's affirmation also holds a subtle balance. Notice she didn't just affirm wonderful pay. She included wonderful service. That's important. Because abundance flows where value is exchanged. If you affirm wonderful pay but resent service, you create imbalance. But when you affirm both, you create harmony. You're declaring, "I give my best, and I receive the best. I pour out with joy, and I'm filled back up with joy." That's the rhythm of abundance. I've seen this affirmation change people in small, almost hidden ways too. A man once told me he had been saying it for weeks, and while his paycheck hadn't changed yet, he found himself enjoying his work more. He started noticing little things he once overlooked, the way his team laughed together, the satisfaction of finishing a project, the gratitude of a client. He realized, the affirmation is changing how I experience the work I already have. That shift in energy eventually attracted a promotion, but even before the external reward, the internal reward had already begun. And that's the heart of Florence's teaching. Speak it, believe it, embody it. Don't wait until your circumstances change to declare wonderful work, wonderful service, and wonderful pay. Declare it now, and let your circumstances rise to meet your words. Real-life transformation begins when you shift your daily language from lack to wealth. It sounds almost too easy, doesn't it? Change the words you speak and watch your entire reality bend toward them. But if you've ever tried it, you know it's not about the words alone, it's about what the words awaken inside you. It's about retraining a mind that's been conditioned for years, sometimes decades, to speak lack as naturally as breathing. That's why it feels strange the first time you stand in front of a mirror and declare, "I am wealthy. I always have more than enough." Your old self wants to laugh. Your old self whispers, "Who are you kidding?" But if you keep going, if you stay with it, something happens. The ground begins to shift beneath your feet. I once knew a woman named Clara who grew up in a home where the only phrases about money were negative. "We can't afford it. Money doesn't grow on trees. People like us never get ahead." She didn't even realize those words were shaping her reality until she was in her 30s, working 2 jobs, barely scraping by, repeating the same phrases her parents had spoken. One day, she stumbled across Florence Scovel Shinn's work and was struck by the idea that words could be seeds. She decided to experiment. She chose one phrase, "Money flows to me freely, easily, and endlessly." She wrote it on sticky notes and placed them on her bathroom mirror, her refrigerator, even the dashboard of her car. Every time her old language tried to rise, "I'll never get out of this hole," she replaced it with her new affirmation. Within months, her perspective shifted. She noticed opportunities she would have overlooked before, like a part-time consulting gig that doubled her income. She later said, "The money didn't change first. My words did. And when my words changed, I changed." That's the secret. Transformation begins on your tongue. When you say, "I am broke," you feel heavy, defeated, powerless. When you say, "I am provided for," your chest lifts, your energy shifts, and your choices reflect that. It's like turning a steering wheel. Even a small shift changes the entire direction of your journey. Words are the steering wheel of life, And if you keep saying the same lack-filled sentences, you'll keep driving in circles. But the moment you choose new words, you steer yourself toward new destinations. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you're standing in a room full of doors. Each door leads to a different future. Some doors open to struggle, some to mediocrity, some to wealth and freedom. The key to each door is language. When you say, "I can't afford it," you're unlocking the door marked struggle and stepping through it. When you say, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," you're unlocking the door marked abundance and stepping into that reality. Every sentence is a key, every word a decision. I knew a man named David who worked in construction. For years, his mantra was, "There's never enough money, no matter how hard I work." He spoke it with such certainty that his life kept proving him right. Overtime hours. They vanished into repairs and debts. Tax refunds. Gone before he could enjoy them. Then one day, a mentor challenged him, "Stop saying there's never enough. Start saying, I always have more than enough." David resisted at first. It felt dishonest. But eventually, he tried. He began whispering it in the mornings, even when his bank account said otherwise. Something remarkable happened. He didn't suddenly win the lottery. Instead, he began managing money differently. He noticed wasteful spending he'd ignored before. He became open to learning about investments. Within 2 years, he was not only debt-free but had savings for the first time in his life. When asked what changed, he said, "The money didn't change first. My words changed. My words changed me. And I changed my money." That's the ripple effect of shifting your language. It doesn't just bring external opportunities, it reshapes your internal world. When you speak lack, you shrink. When you speak wealth, you expand. And the world responds to your expansion. People feel it. Opportunities recognize it. Abundance flows to it. Think about children learning to walk. Imagine a parent constantly saying, "You'll fall. You'll never get it. Walking isn't for kids like you." How would that child ever build the courage to take steps? Yet that's exactly what many of us do with our financial lives. We speak failure over ourselves before we've even tried. But if a parent says, "You can do it, you're strong, keep going," the child keeps trying until walking becomes natural. Your financial language works the same way. Keep speaking abundance until it becomes your natural state. Florence Scovel Shinn believed words create a vibrational match for your desires. That may sound mystical, but it's also deeply practical. Speak wealth, and you feel wealth. Feel wealth, and you act in alignment with wealth. Act in alignment with wealth, and you attract it. It's a chain reaction, but it always begins with the spark of a spoken word. So here's a challenge. For the next 7 days, monitor your language about money. Every time you're about to say, "I can't afford that," pause. Replace it with, "That's not a priority right now, but money flows to me freely." When you want to say, "I'll never get out of debt," replace it with, "I am moving closer to freedom every day." When you catch yourself sighing, "I'm always broke," replace it with, "I always have enough, and more is on the way." At first, your mind may resist. But keep speaking. Keep planting. Keep steering the wheel. Because real-life transformation doesn't begin with the bank balance. It doesn't begin with the paycheck. It doesn't even begin with the opportunity. It begins with the words that leave your lips. Words shape belief. Belief shapes action. Action shapes destiny. And the moment you shift your daily language from lack to wealth, you begin rewriting your story from the inside out. There's a quiet moment that comes to everyone who decides to truly change their financial destiny. It's that moment when you realize that you've said all the affirmations, you've written the words on your mirror, you've repeated them until they almost feel automatic, and then life throws a challenge in your face. The bill comes in higher than expected. The car breaks down. The opportunity you were counting on falls through. And suddenly, those old voices rise up. "See? It doesn't work. You're back to where you've always been." This is where most people stop. They think the words failed them. They think abundance is a fantasy. But this is the exact moment when persistence matters most. It's the test. It's life asking you, Will you keep speaking wealth even when the evidence around you screams lack? Will you trust the seed before it breaks the soil? Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith and persistence are inseparable. Words are powerful, but they must be consistent. Imagine planting a seed today, watering it for a week, then digging it up because you're frustrated it hasn't sprouted. That's what happens when you speak affirmations for a short time and then abandon them when results aren't immediate. But persistence, steady, patient, unwavering persistence, is what allows the seed to push through the darkness of the soil into the light. I once spoke with a man named Jordan who had struggled for years to keep his business afloat. Every morning, he would repeat, "I am prosperous. Clients are drawn to me. My work is valuable." But month after month, things stayed tight. Then one year, everything seemed to collapse. His biggest client left. His expenses piled up. And for the first time, he was tempted to quit both his business and his affirmations. But something inside nudged him to keep going. He said, "I felt like a fool saying those words when my reality was falling apart. But I couldn't let them go. I spoke them louder." Within months, 2 new opportunities arrived, one of which grew his business larger than it had ever been. When I asked him what made the difference, he didn't hesitate. "I didn't quit speaking abundance, even when it looked impossible." Persistence is what transforms your words from wishes into convictions. At first, when you say, "I am wealthy," it may feel hollow. But say it again tomorrow. Say it again when you're standing in line at the grocery store, counting coins. Say it again when you open a bill you don't know how to pay. Every time you repeat it, you are hammering a new truth into the foundation of your mind. And the mind, once rewired, refuses to go back to its old patterns. Think about an athlete training for a marathon. The first few runs feel unbearable. The body resists. The lungs burn. But every day the runner shows up, something changes. Muscles strengthen. Stamina builds. What once felt impossible becomes second nature. Speaking abundance works the same way. Persistence is your training. Each repetition makes you stronger, until one day, wealth consciousness is your natural state, and lack has no place to land. I'll never forget the story of a single mother named Angela. She had 3 children, 2 jobs, and endless bills. She discovered affirmations through a book, and every night after tucking her kids into bed, she would sit alone at the kitchen table and whisper, "I am always provided for. I live in abundance. My children and I are blessed." 4 months, nothing changed. The bills still came. The exhaustion still clung to her. But she persisted. She spoke those words through tears, through laughter, through silence. And then, slowly, life shifted. A better paying job came her way. Support she never expected appeared. Opportunities for her children opened. Looking back, she said, "It wasn't the money that gave me strength. It was the persistence. I became unshakable. The money followed that strength." That's the lesson. Abundance isn't about instant miracles. It's about aligning your language, your belief, and your persistence so deeply that life has no choice but to yield. The world bends to consistency. It respects the one who refuses to give up. So if you've spoken affirmations for weeks and you don't see results, don't quit. If you've shifted your words but your reality still looks the same, don't quit. Remember the farmer who plants in spring and doesn't expect a harvest tomorrow. He waters. He waits. He trusts. And in due season, the field blooms. Your wealth is blooming. It may still be under the soil, invisible to your eyes, but every word you speak, every moment you persist, is pushing it closer to the surface. One day soon, you'll look around and realize the harvest has arrived, not by accident, not by luck, but because you kept going when it would have been easier to stop. That's the power of persistence. That's the final key to making wealth not just a dream, but a living, breathing reality. So here we are. You've heard the words. You've felt the shift. And now the choice is in your hands. Will you keep speaking the language of lack, or will you dare to speak the language of wealth? Will you keep repeating the story that drains you, or will you write a new one with your own voice? Because every word you speak is a seed. Every word is a door. Every word is a future waiting to unfold. Speak lack, and lack answers. Speak wealth, and wealth rushes to meet you. Speak fear, and fear grows. Speak faith, and faith builds a bridge where there was no way. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the bank account to change. Don't wait for life to give you permission. Start now. Start today. Start with one phrase, one sentence, one bold declaration that says, I am wealthy. I am provided for. I am unstoppable. Say it when you believe it. Say it when you don't. Say it when life is easy. Say it when life tests you. Say it when the evidence is against you. Say it until the world cannot ignore the vibration of your voice. Because your words are not empty. Your words are power. Your words are prophecy. So speak wealth. Speak abundance. Speak prosperity. Speak life. And keep speaking it until it shows up at your door. The rush of money. The flood of opportunities. The overflow of blessings. They are already moving toward you. All they're waiting for is your voice. Remember this, your mouth is the doorway to your destiny. What you speak today, you will live tomorrow.